In life, people often face pressure from society, where others' values and standards are placed above their own. They spend a significant amount of time seeking acceptance and appreciation from society, even though these standards are not their own. Often, this causes them to feel exhausted and caught in cycles of worry, unable to live freely and authentically. From trying to fit into societal molds to pursuing goals they don't truly want, everything seems to be aimed at pleasing others. As a result, they live in a state of unfreedom, constantly trying to prove their worth and facing unnecessary anxiety. Michel de Montaigne, a great philosopher, pointed out that the search for societal acceptance is a hidden trap, turning people into slaves to expectations they don't need. Instead of spending their lives chasing these standards, Montaigne encourages us to let go and live in the most natural way without carrying unnecessary burdens. He asserted that happiness and freedom don't come from controlling everything or pleasing everyone, but from accepting ourselves, understanding our worth, and living authentically. When we stop seeking approval from the outside, we can live more freely and confidently because we no longer have to prove anything to anyone. This creates space for us to focus on what truly matters, making relationships more genuine and decisions easier to make. In reality, life becomes lighter and more meaningful when we stop clinging to unreasonable expectations from society. Michel de Montaigne, in his philosophy, pointed out that much of the anxiety and stress we face in life comes from our over-concern with others' approval and acceptance. People tend to live according to society's expectations, chasing standards not of their own making. They fear criticism, fear not being acknowledged, and as a result, they waste energy trying to create an image that fits others' views rather than living authentically. Montaigne emphasized that this not only makes life exhausting, but also takes away our inner freedom and the ability to truly control our own lives. One of the key points in Montaigne's philosophy is that not caring is not indifference or laziness, but a way of living freely without being bound by unrealistic standards. When we stop worrying about pleasing others, we can focus on what truly matters and live an authentic life. Montaigne argued that we don't need to try to prove ourselves in order to gain recognition, because true recognition comes from living according to our own values and being ourselves. When we stop clinging to what's unimportant, our relationships become more genuine and our lives become more fulfilling. Montaigne also believed that not caring about what others think doesn't mean becoming indifferent to life. In fact, it helps us master our emotions and live authentically. When we live without being constrained by external expectations, we naturally find peace and happiness. This is the philosophy Montaigne conveys. When we stop caring about meaningless things, everything in life starts to flow more smoothly and harmoniously. Montaigne, a great French philosopher, pointed out that in life, many people constantly chase others' judgments and live a life that is not their own, but rather one shaped by societal expectations and norms. He analyzed the stress and fatigue that people endure when they try to please others, while they themselves do not find true happiness. According to Montaigne, this not only makes people live inauthentically, but also causes them to forget who they truly are and what truly matters to them. Montaigne's philosophy is not just a simple call for a change in how we perceive life, but a profound challenge to the value system that society imposes on us. He believed that one of the main reasons people cannot find happiness is because they are constantly worried about acceptance and judgment from others. This causes them to lose their freedom and ability to live true to themselves. When people stop clinging to societal validation, they truly find freedom and peace. Additionally, Montaigne suggested that people cannot control everything in life. The anxiety and stress come from trying to grasp things that cannot be changed. Accepting imperfection and uncertainty in life is the key to living a peaceful and fulfilling life. According to Montaigne, when we stop caring about things that are not truly important, we create space for opportunities and good things to naturally appear. Worrying about things that cannot be controlled only adds to our stress, while accepting them helps us live more lightly and freely. This philosophy also carries an important lesson about human relationships. When we stop seeking approval from others, we not only become freer, but also build more authentic and meaningful connections. We will easily connect with others without worrying about what they think of us. This helps us form true connections, not influenced by inauthenticity or unrealistic expectations. Montaigne pointed out that people often make the mistake of trying to control everything in their lives, especially when they spend too much energy seeking approval and acceptance from others. In reality, trying to please others only exhausts us and robs us of true freedom. Montaigne acknowledged that life cannot be fully controlled, and this does not mean failure. On the contrary, he argued that letting go of the need to control or seek validation from the outside world is the way to achieve inner peace and calm in life. What Montaigne wanted to emphasize was the importance of living naturally and without pressure. When people no longer worry about others' judgments, they can live more fully and freely. By letting go of unnecessary control and accepting life's imperfections, Montaigne believed that people can truly find satisfaction. This is not a call to abandon responsibility, but rather a piece of advice to alleviate the burdens that society and ourselves create by trying too hard to be loved or praised by others. Montaigne also pointed out that when we stop seeking external acceptance and focus on self-liberation, we will create a more authentic and freer life. Seeking approval from others not only causes stress, but also makes us lack self-confidence. True freedom comes from within, from living true to ourselves without relying on criticism or recognition from others. Montaigne succeeded in asserting that when we stop doing unnecessary things and shed the invisible burdens society places on us, we feel lighter and more at ease. Finally, Montaigne encouraged people to stop worrying excessively about things beyond their control and instead focus on what is most important in life. By living realistically and not being bound by perfectionism or unrealistic expectations, we can truly achieve inner peace. When we let go of these burdens, life becomes easier and opens up new opportunities for us to grow and develop. Montaigne understood that true serenity does not come from controlling everything, but from letting go and accepting life as it is. One of the key messages in his philosophy is to let go of the worry about things beyond our control and focus on what truly matters in life. When we stop trying to control everything, we begin to see life becoming easier. Instead of worrying about what others think, we can live our own lives freely and comfortably. This does not mean abandoning all responsibilities, but accepting imperfection and living in a world full of uncertainties. Montaigne did not call for indifference or disengagement from life, but for a life that is realistic, meaningful, and free. He pointed out that when we stop craving approval from others, when we stop letting the anxiety of external judgment control our lives, we will be freer and more at ease in facing life. It is at this point that we no longer have to worry about whether we fit a certain standard. Instead, we live true to ourselves. This does not mean abandoning important tasks in life, but knowing when to let go of unnecessary burdens and maintaining confidence in ourselves. Montaigne also pointed out that true freedom comes from living in the present moment, not being stuck in the past or worrying about the future. He emphasized that life is transient and unpredictable. When we let go of expectations for a perfect life or absolute control, we will feel lighter and more able to face the challenges life brings. Ultimately, Montaigne invites us to live realistically, accept imperfections, and love ourselves instead of trying to become what others expect us to be. Montaigne's philosophy also extends to the relationship between letting go and deeper connections in life. He believed that when we stop seeking approval from others, our relationships become more genuine and natural. Those who are free from control and anxiety about judgment from others often form stronger bonds, as they are no longer bound by societal expectations or the exhausting effort of trying to please everyone. Once we are no longer afraid of rejection or judgment, we can face others with sincerity, leading to true connections. Montaigne also argued that inner freedom comes from accepting both our own imperfections and the imperfections of life. When we stop trying to perfect everything and allow mistakes to happen, we not only free ourselves from stress, but also open ourselves up to learning and growth. Montaigne viewed freedom not as escaping responsibility or important commitments, but as the ability to live without being controlled by external factors. It is the freedom to be ourselves, to accept and love ourselves without worrying about societal pressures. Montaigne advises that we should let go of unnecessary burdens and live a simpler life. He does not tell us to abandon all goals or ideas, but to learn to let go of what no longer serves us. This letting go helps us achieve tranquility and creates a more peaceful life. When we stop worrying about the future or trying to change things beyond our control, we find that life becomes easier and more meaningful. Finally, Montaigne argues that this freedom is not indifference, but freedom in living realistically. It is living in the present moment, unburdened by the past or fearful of the future. When we let go of control, opportunities and joy will naturally come to us, and we will feel that we are living a life full of meaning. In Montaigne's philosophy, he realizes that when we stop holding on and controlling too many things in life, everything will naturally fall back into place. Letting go does not mean abandoning life, but finding balance in how we live. Montaigne argued that control is an illusion, and when we release the need to force everything according to our will, life will naturally unfold more smoothly and easily. Instead of continually trying to master every aspect of life, Montaigne encourages us to let go of unnecessary expectations and allow life to unfold naturally. Montaigne also observed that we spend too much energy worrying about things that are not truly important. Worries about judgment from others, fear of failure, or imagining what the future holds are the elements that cause us stress and fatigue. When we learn to let go of these worries, we not only reduce stress, but also open up space for new opportunities. Montaigne believed that when we are not bound by meaningless anxieties, we are better able to see clearly about ourselves and what truly matters in life. He also noted that true freedom comes from accepting the imperfections and uncertainties of life. We cannot control everything, and this realization is a part of maturity. Montaigne advises us to learn to appreciate and cherish what we have, rather than chasing things out of our reach. When we learn to embrace the challenges and surprises life brings, we become stronger and more flexible in facing adversity. One of the strengths of Montaigne's philosophy is his encouragement of freedom and action without the pressure of society or unreasonable expectations. By letting go, we can live a truly free life, one that is our own, without being bound by the judgments of others or unrealistic standards. This philosophy encourages us to embrace ourselves, love ourselves, and recognize that true freedom is the ability to live without depending on others' approval. Montaigne's philosophy on stopping the excessive care for things that don't matter is not just a piece of advice for living more comfortably, but a profound shift in how we perceive and experience the world around us. When we learn to let go of meaningless worries and unrealistic expectations, we begin to find a greater sense of freedom in our lives. This is not neglect, it is a return to our true nature, where we no longer need to constantly measure our worth through others' perceptions. Montaigne emphasizes that the truth of life lies in living naturally and not being bound by control or unreasonable standards. Montaigne invites us to reflect on how we live and whether what we are striving for truly reflects our personal values. Often we are too caught up in pursuing standards set by society or others, forgetting that these standards are not necessarily the ultimate goals in life. By letting go, we not only reduce stress, but also realize that many of the things we consider important are actually just temporary concern that have no lasting value. Montaigne also points out that letting go doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or living without purpose. On the contrary, when we no longer worry about pleasing everyone or seeking external approval, we can live with a clearer and more confident sense of purpose. This helps us make more accurate decisions, unaffected by outside factors. Montaigne argues that life is not a competition to win, but a journey to live authentically. Montaigne encourages us to live in a way where we are not concerned with pleasing others, because it is only when we stop caring about what others think that we truly become free. This freedom is not simply escaping expectations, but expanding our ability to create and connect authentically with those around us. By living true to ourselves, we not only feel freer, but also become the best version of ourselves. Life is not always a race to win, but a journey to discover oneself and live authentically. Montaigne teaches us that letting go of unnecessary worries, external expectations, and unrealistic standards is the key to achieving inner freedom. When we stop caring about others' approval, we free up energy and create space to live according to our own values and goals. This does not mean abandoning responsibility or living without purpose, but rather choosing what truly matters and living fully in alignment with it. In reality, many of us feel stressed and exhausted because we constantly try to meet expectations that are not our own. This not only diminishes the quality of life, but also causes us to lose sight of what we truly want. When we let go of these burdens, we realize that life does not need to be perfect, and embracing imperfection is true freedom. This freedom allows us to live a life that is more genuine, stronger, and more confident, while also opening up new opportunities that we would miss if we were always bound by others' judgments. Montaigne's lesson is about freeing ourselves from unnecessary worries and finding ourselves in a world full of pressure. If you are feeling stuck or tired, try letting go of unrealistic expectations and living for what truly matters to you. And you will notice that everything in your life will begin to shift in a positive direction.